Cliff Jumper, commence countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is TFG and Mike with the GCRN Radio Network, and this is Transformers ToyCast, Episode 20. And in Episode 20, you're going to hear two different intros and two different outros. The reason for that is because I have been toying around with the ToyCast intro that I've been using and kind of trying to make it a little bit better. I wish people would give me feedback on it once Episode 20 airs, which will most likely be Wednesday, I believe. We're going to be recording it Tuesday evening. So yeah, I just hope... actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a poll on the Episode 20 thread on PredaconEmpire.com/CafeSpark. So head on over there, join the forums, and leave us feedback on which theme you like. One will be a TV static type of theme in between each, and the other one will be a radio style. So, up first is the radio style theme.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
And here is the TV static intro, so please enjoy.
Cliff Jumper, commence countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Hello, and welcome to Transformers ToyCast, Episode 20. I am TFG and Mike, and today I am joined by the goddamn Proto Man. Hello, sir.
Hey, hey, hey.
And Pecan Court Michael. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. How are you guys?
I'm always great.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging in there.
You're hanging in there. Well, I want to bring up a little bit of show news, actually. As far as the podcast goes, seeing as how this is episode 20, I have been playing around with the intro-outro theme that I originally created for this show, and I've done up two different themes. So before this what we're talking about right now actually hits the timer in the episode, people are going to hear two different intros and two different outros. One is a radio version outro with radio FM dial sound in between each Transformers theme, and the other is a TV static sound theme. And what you can do is you can go over to PredaconEmpire.com/CafeSpark under the Transformers ToyCast Episode 20 thread. You can vote for which one that you want. I will put up a poll later on this evening. You must be a member of the forums in order to vote. So, yeah, that's a way for us to cheat and get new members. So that's what's going on with that. So I guess we're gonna this episode we're not actually talking about any actual quote unquote toys. It's a Transformers video game episode, and first up is goddamn Proto Man with Mystery of Convoy. Now I have never heard of this game ever.
Well, you know me, I'll give the history lesson.
Yes, yes.
The year was 1986, and Transformers came out during that peak time at the same time of the video game era. A lot of people always wonder, well, how come Transformers never got a video game? You know, Ninja Turtles got 3 during the 80s, you know. But it's just the problem was is that Nintendo came out in '85 in America, and I guess the momentum didn't get running quick enough for us to get games, and also the only one game that pretty much didn't that wasn't part of the Famicom disk system, and for people who don't know what that is that the Nintendo actually had an additional add-on in Japan, which never came out here. So the only game that actually was cart-based that was Transformer-based was way too hard, and it never got released here. It's sort of the same reason why the Super Mario Brothers Lost Levels. It's the kind of the same situation where the game was too hard and they never released it here until years later. The game in question I'm talking about is Transformers Mystery of Convoy. This was a game that came out in 1986 to coincide with the Transformers 2010 cartoon. You play as Ultra Magnus. What's interesting about this game is when it first starts up, you actually hear a little snippet of the Transformers 2010 anime theme song intro, which is the dash dash dit 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 dit. And then you even hear the da-na-na-na-na. So, they actually made a little effort for something in the 8-bit era. There's even a little intro where you see Optimus Prime passing these Matrix pieces to Ultra Magnus to make him leader. The game was extremely hard, as I stated before. One hit, you're dead, and then the level starts over from there. Very difficult. So people who complained about Contra, at least when you died in Contra, you continued where you died from. This, you go right back to the beginning. It was a very, very difficult game. The hit detection was horrible. The controls were really tough. But it had a lot of just wacky things related to it that kind of made it special. It had a lot of G1 characters in it, aside from the Ultra Magnus. It had a generic Seeker jet that was kind of colored like Starscream flying around, although according to the instruction manual, it was Skywarp. Blitzwing was in the game. A character that kind of looked like the Insecticon Chop Shop was in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sunstorm was in the game. I call him Sunstorm, but it was just a Decepticon that was yellow and orange. It was a jet. So Bumblebee was in the game. Ratbat was in the game. God, who else was in it? Laserbeak. There was a lot of, and then of course the bosses ranged from, from the moon bases to Menasor, Bruticus, even the Nemesis was in it. Trypticon was in it. Megatron was in it. A giant Decepticon logo, which appears twice, was a boss also. Just a lot of little crazy stuff that was in the game that a lot of people who pretty much couldn't get past that first level were really missing out on stuff. One of the cool extras, though, was when you did beat the game, you were given a message saying to go back and collect all the secret letters. And that's kind of the mystery of Convoy, as the title said, was there was a mystery about a convoy, and everyone thought it meant Optimus Prime. But it isn't, because as you go through the levels, you spell out these letters that you find one letter for each level that spell out Rodimus. If you collect all the letters, when you beat the game, Ultra Magnus turns into Rodimus, and then every time you play the game from that point on, you now play as Rodimus Prime, which was a nice extra little touch to the game. So you pretty much play the game over, but now as Rodimus. Just nice little things here and there. What was cool also about the game was that it released a strategy guide that came with it because it was so tough in Japan. And the strategy guide had amazing art and an entire comic book based around the game's storyline written just for it in full color, which is a nice little nod, to kind of make sense of all this insanity because all the characters are oddly colored and all over the place.
It's kind of an apology for being so crappy.
Yeah, well, see, the funny thing
sorry.
is,
Have a comic book.
Years and years later, there's this show in Japan called Game Setter CX, which is all about playing old 80s games that were either horrible or really difficult. It's kind of like Angry Video Game Nerd, but a Japanese version, but it's on television. And they went back and they revisited this game, and it took the host, I think it was 9 hours to beat the game. And they actually recorded him for 9 hours. Obviously they did editing in between, but he was just so stressed out, and he realized wow, this actually got released. Now imagine if that was released in the American public back in the 80s when Nintendo was scared of the whole difficulty of video games. It just would have been a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
That's why a lot of people have never heard of it, or if they have heard of it, they didn't get really far and they lost interest. It wasn't the last Nintendo game of Transformers. There would be a sequel for the Famicom Disk System called Transformers Headmasters, which is a lot easier. But this one was the first of the Nintendo era, and yeah, it was very off the wall and very crazy. The only other thing I could mention is that there's two versions of this game if you're looking to pick it up. If you could find it like super cheap, even on eBay, like mint in box for like $10, $15. But there was an extremely rare version of it, which was one of 150 made that they released as a premium from a magazine. I believe it was Comic Bonbon or Robo Bonbon during the 80s, where you got the same game, but it came in like a silver coating around the cartridge. And that one's like one of 150 made. Yeah, it's nothing really special. That's the only other extra info I could give you guys on it.
Well,
But that's
cool.
it. And that's Transformers Mystery of Convoy, or Conboy as it's written on the box, because the Japanese can't pronounce their B's.
Now, before the whole movie came out and the whole movie game, I was a fan of the PS2 Armada game. At first, when I first heard about it, I didn't realize it was Armada based. I thought it was, going back to G1 from Beast Wars, and I kind of liked it. But as soon as I put it in and I start playing as Optimus Prime, I'm like, wait, that's not Optimus Prime. What the hell is this? But I am going to be talking about Transformers the game from the first movie. Biggest complaint about this, and everybody that I know complains about this, is the timed levels. Those suck. I went through these about, 6 or 7 times and said screw it, went online and found cheat codes to just unlock everything. Yeah, I don't know.
It is its biggest flaw, especially when you do levels that kind of have those like short burst time limits.
Yeah.
Where just quickly that comes to mind, like when you're fighting Barricade at the beginning of the game, you fight him, you toss him to another area, and then you got like 15 seconds to get to that other area.
Yeah.
Which is kind of silly. I mean, you should just go to the other area and it'll engage that battle. And that happens like 3 or 4 times just in that single level, but that happens throughout the entire game, which I find is a bit of a nuisance. And also the whole thing where, we got to chase down this car and you got to take highway paths. And again, that's fun the first time, but you do that at least like 8 times throughout the game.
Right.
So that does get kind of annoying after a while.
My biggest pet peeve, or actually the part that drove me over the edge to find the cheat code online, was under the Hoover Dam complex, where you're going down the long tunnel with the explosion behind you, and you have to outrun the fireball behind you, and yet there's all this crap in the road. And if you hit one single girder, you're going to spin around in a circle, and that's it, and you got to start over. I could do it maybe once, twice if I was lucky, but there were 4 of them you had to do.
Wow.
There's just no way. Well, and you had a time limit, and I could not do it.
My biggest problem with the first game was that outside of the time levels, if I was driving to have to get to somewhere in a time limit, I could do it if I was just driving to get there, but not deal with Decepticlones and all this other crap. My biggest complaint outside of the time levels is the fact that when you're climbing or jumping buildings, it's like you're in slow motion in the Autobot campaign. It's like, what in the hell? It's like...
Yeah, the controls were kind of choppy, and to chime in on the controllers, you guys are going to laugh at me, but before I actually got my hands on the PS2 version, and later on playing the PS3 version, the first time I actually played this game was the Wii.
Oh,
now,
really?
imagine the Wii's controllers and how gameplay is done with the Wii. It's the exact same game, I want to remind you.
God.
But now with the Wii's controllers, with the swinging and the poking and the punching and the prodding and the nunchuck and the swing. I'm telling you, the game makes you look like a retard. It's just, I don't like a game, like in this game, for the PlayStation, transform is the X button or the A button or the R button. But, depending how you set your controllers. But with the Wii version, it's like, swing your right arm. And that gets really annoying, especially when you're in when you're in the heat of battle, oh man, I gotta like jump over this rivet and then transform and then chase that car, and you're like swinging your arms like an idiot trying to do it. It is the worst version of the game of the big three is the Wii version. But
Well, I
at the
think
time,
that's kind of par for the
all I
course
had,
for any Wii game.
yeah. Well, when they made the Wii version, they were like, well, we're gonna change the game a bit so that it matches the Wii controllers. But it got ridiculous. It was just like, no, it's not the same thing. It's just they took the PlayStation 3 game, they dumbed it down a bit with graphics, and then they tried to mold the controllers to match, that specific kind of Wii motion controllers, and it didn't work. It was absolutely horrible, and the only reason why I found myself buying it was I had a Wii. I bought it for other reasons, the Wii, and then I was like, oh, hey, Transformers is on clearance at, GameStop. What the hey, And I regret it. Now I know why.
Yeah, I have the PC version, so like Michael with the Revenge of the Fallen game, it's 10 times harder to configure the controls on the PC version than any other version ever.
I would imagine, because see, if there's especially the two first movie games, those are games that were really made for a PlayStation controller, not even the Xbox. I even find that the Xbox is a bit, just holding the Xbox controller is a headache. But I think that these games are best played on a PlayStation controller, just the traditional, I guess, Super Nintendo shaped,
Right.
button layout.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I think that it's made for that. The difficulty of the Revenge of the Fallen's transformation stem from the fact that if you're not really holding that PlayStation controller with its double toggles on both ends and all of that, it's going to be annoying as hell on any other platform. I mean, I can't even imagine how it's like on the Wii.
Well, the PC
I didn't
version.
even bother. I didn't even bother for the sequel on the Wii. I was like, forget that. That's going to be a disaster.
Well, for the PC, the problem is, if it was just keyboard controls, I could configure that to where I'd be able to play it. But no, it's keyboard and mouse. So it's like you have to run and walk by pressing W or A or D if you want to go sideways. But if you want to transform, you have to either push the mouse up or drag it down. And because
oh really?
Wow. Yeah. So I'm a person that I play video games one-handed. So that's a pain in the ass.
Not only that, if some people have a certain setup where their mouse gets in the way, that's extremely annoying.
Mm-hmm.
If you just knock your mouse by mistake with your elbow or whatever, I don't know. Again, people have different setups for their computer, but that would be really annoying.
Oh, yes. Very much so.
So I'm used to playing first-person shooters where I have one hand on the keyboard and one hand on the mouse.
Yeah, well, the one hand on the mouse I would assume for aiming. That would make sense. But for such a minor thing like the transformation, and how annoying that would be if again, just by knocking it mildly would trigger something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problems at all with the first game. Or I should say the first movie game.
Well,
as far as controls.
You use two hands, so there's a big difference.
Okay.
But yeah, I can't bring myself to recommend this game to anybody.
I'll quickly chime in and say if you have to get a movie one game, get the DS one.
Yeah.
It's easily, without a doubt, a tie for the best Transformer game ever made. It might be just my own personal opinion, but definitely try it out if you own a DS. I'm just going to put that in there.
No, it's more than fine. The best thing about it is the unlockables and the G1 skins and stuff like that. I like that a lot. And of course, unfortunately, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to put G1 skins in this thing, and I know they're going to use Megatron. Oh wait, they're not going to use the true Megatron though. They're going to use him as the same ugly ass jet that the movie Megatron was. Because heaven forbid there be a gun in a video game for kids.
I think it was more that they kind of wanted to do the lazy route about it. I think instead of doing all the programming and everything to make a gun Megatron that was coherent and exactly like the G1 counterpart, I think at least to them, especially you have to realize movie games and games based on licenses and stuff, usually don't get as much effort as, say, a Metal Gear Solid or a Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of just you have to realize these games are actually manufactured maybe a year or a year and a half before the movie even comes out. So they're kind of on a rushed schedule. They're kind of like, we just got to get this out because when the sales are going to only happen is during that movie hype or when the movie comes out.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to knock look, Iron Man was a great movie. There was games of Iron Man based on the movie on every platform. Did any of you play it? Hell no, because they're garbage, and Iron Man was an amazing freaking movie,
Yeah.
but it's just, those games are horrible, and there's a lot of that. Every single movie has a game that comes out. So, and, it's no different with Transformers, so I can't imagine them going, oh, well, we got to put all this effort into it. Even the amazing G1 skins we get now with Revenge of the Fallen, we only got them afterwards when Revenge of the Fallen was like the multi-billion-dollar blockbuster, holy crap, beat the first movie, then they were like, you know what, I think we could put some extra downloadable content here for people,
Yeah.
I think, we deserve to throw them a bone. But the first game, it was a different story. The first game was made, again, you have to realize, when they didn't even know if the movie would have done well.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, it was made a year before the movie even hit theaters. Well, it was in that process of being made. So, I mean, yeah, sure, they probably had an idea that the movie's going to make some kind of money, but they probably didn't realize the $700 million mark at that point. They probably just figured, oh, maybe it'll do well like an X-Men 1 or something, or Spider-Man, where it won't be breaking records, but it'll bring us home some change. So that's kind of why I find that the Megatron was maybe like, lackluster. Same thing with the Prime. It wasn't perfect like it is now, like with the Revenge of the Fallen version.
Mm-hmm.
But, they were testing water.
Yeah.
They really were.
And
again, it's a movie game based on a franchise, which is always
that's
a
true.
risk.
I wish somebody would take the 86 movie and put it with the same design as that animation from the 86 movie and make a game out of that. That would be awesome.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever played, let me ask if you ever heard of Transformers Tatakai, which was the which was the Japanese Transformer PlayStation 2 game that was kind of like Final Fight with G1 characters? Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Okay, I have to show you a clip after.
No.
Because
I've seen video of it.
Yeah, you will. The game that you want does exist. It's just that it never came out here, and it's not as like holy crap, amazing, epic, but it does exist. It is out there, and it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you love G1, then you're gonna love it to death. It's pretty much a what if story of what happened in between season 2 and the movie, where Optimus Prime got visited by Rodimus Prime in the future, and they try to change what's going to happen in the future. It's a really crazy little story and stuff. But it's a beat 'em up. It's you pick 3 Autobots of your choice, and there's quite the cast to pick from. And then you go around beating up Decepticons and then fighting bosses in typical Final Fight Double Dragon style. Where it's just slews of waves of these guys. And then, there's the boss. It's Skull Crusher, the headmaster, and then you move on down. And then, it's, Shockwave or something, someone more important. And the thing that's a winning point about, at least with that game, is that there's all these CG scenes in between that are brand new CG, kind of, I wouldn't say Beast Wars level, but pretty close to that, of G1 characters. And keep in mind, even though this game is Japanese, it's all voice acted in English.
Oh, cool.
Not the original voice actors, but they do a pretty good job. I mean, the man's not Peter Cullen, but, considering it's a Japanese game and the whole game's in English, that's pretty awesome. So it's almost like it was made for us to download or buy somewhere. And I'm pretty sure, Mike, if you look at, I'll give you a link to get it. I think you'll really like that game. For people who really love G1, they love it to death. Yeah. I know at conventions like BotCon and TFCon, there's guys that are always selling it. You always get the G1 guys that always buy it because, hey, it's a G1 game.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
And it has a lot of characters. It has, 60, literally.
Wow.
Between both factions.
There's got to be video of that somewhere.
Oh, there's tons of it. There's tons of it on YouTube. Of like all the story and all the video clips and all that. It's all out there. And again, like if you just watch, even if you watch like the endings, because there's an Autobot and Decepticon campaign, the endings are like they're gorgeous. Like because again, I don't want to spoil, but you have to keep in mind this is Rodimus Prime coming from the future to help Optimus change the future. And to give you one really cool thing, Rodimus tries to warn Prime of him killing him.
Yeah.
So that's a really like no, I'm serious, and this is like like holy crap, fan controversial thing where he actually says to Prime, because of me, you, and then Prime cuts him off and says I don't want to know about it, which is pretty, and that's like canon, that's official right there, so that's pretty awesome, and there's a lot of that throughout it. So check it out.
Yeah, I'll have to do that.
Proto Man recommendation. Right?
Yeah, there you go. I really don't have any final thoughts on the first game. I don't know. I wish it was just without time levels. That I think for me that would have made it so much easier, even with the PC controls. So, which game are you going to be talking about, Michael?
Well, since it hasn't been covered yet, I would like to say my favorite video game would have to be the Armada version that came out on the PlayStation 2.
I'm not saying I don't like the game. I'm just saying it's not what I thought it was going to be. But after I started playing it, I don't know, a few years ago, I came to like it, but I didn't get very far with it.
As a video game, it's a very good game. Yes, it is in G1, so for a lot of people, it's not what they know.
Mm-hmm.
But as a video game, it's just a very good game on its own.
Well, I should say the downside, first of all, is that you've only got 3 characters to choose from. And granted, a lot of the levels kind of preclude you from having a flying character because, that would take a lot of the exploration out of it. But, you've got 3 characters you can play with, Optimus Prime or Red Alert or Hotshot, and there's really no reason to play as anybody. You can play as Optimus Prime, and you pretty much have all the faculties you need to play the entire game that way. If you're a Hotshot nut, if you're David Willis, you might want to play as Hotshot instead for some ungodly reason I can't imagine. But
oh yeah, well, clearly because pretty much what it is aside from the fact that the character's stats are modulated, like Hotshot's a little faster, Prime is a little stronger, and Red Alert takes a little more damage he takes less damage than the others. But they could have put Smokescreen in it, Armada Smokescreen, and it wouldn't have made much of a difference, and I don't think anyone would have cared any more or less either way.
Probably not.
Yeah, so it's just they put the core cast. They gave them all voice acting, which is another thing too that probably limited the amount of cast. Was the fact that they had to do voice acting for everything. So at least,
right.
by having
that's another
3...
positive for the game is actually they had the voice actors from the cartoon come in.
Yeah. Which is a good.
Well,
and another thing too, like going back to what you wanted, Mike. There was a lot of G1 nods in the game, especially in terms of lines. There was a lot of one shall stand, one shall fall, and I know even when you beat the game, Unicron does his famous death speech. Cannot destroy my destiny. So, which is more than he said in Armada. So, the actual cartoon. So.
Yeah, but no, I think what I like most about the game was I don't want to say the RPG aspects, but that's pretty much what it came down to. Is as you discovered new mini-cons throughout the game, you powered up, and then as you discovered sets of mini-cons, because each one had a color, and if you equipped 2 or 3 of the same color, then they would give you more abilities. So you weren't actually increasing in I don't want to say in level. Or increasing your strength or your dexterity or whatever in that regard, but you were increasing the abilities of your character by using different combinations of mini-cons.
Which each gave different abilities.
Yeah, and then you would have to go find more mini-cons. Hey, I'm missing this red one, who's going to give me more bonuses if I find this set of 3. So then you're compelled to go find the last one. And
Which
I
also-
played that game until I got all of them.
Yeah, and that's what was good about it was that there was only I believe it was 9 wide stages you got, if I remember correctly. And what was cool was when you got minicons from a stage later down in the game, you would use said minicon and go back to, say, the first level, which was like the Incas kind of pyramid, forest setting, and you would use that minicon to somehow help you reach another minicon in an area you couldn't normally get to before. So there was a lot of replayability. You would go back and do other things, and also I think the FMVs were pretty good, like all the video clips.
Lots of video.
Yeah.
It was
Voice
very well
act.
done, and you could go back after the fact and watch the video, and then there was unlockable content. That was actually the first time I had seen the GI Joe style PSAs.
Knowing is half the battle. The Transformer.
Yeah. I'd never seen those before, and I thought this was the coolest thing
for years it used to be, and now and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe, and now it's like completely changed on you right there.
Yeah. It's like, man, you ruined it for me, But no, I thought it was a great game. I loved it. I still play it occasionally, when the nephews come over. We'll get back into that. And I still enjoy that game more than I enjoyed the first Transformers game on the PC. I mean, that was fun, but again, as Mike said, there was limitations there. I did get the second Transformer, Revenge of the Fallen game on the PC, and could not get the controls. I couldn't even play the game because the controls were too difficult on the keyboard. So that's kind of right out for me. So yeah, I have to go back to Armada, the Armada PlayStation 2 game as being my favorite.
It's definitely up there for me too. It's just a good game. Like it's more than it just being a Transformer game. Just as a game on its own, it's pretty good. And a lot of video game magazines gave it pretty high ratings because they would be like, hey, license aside, this is just a pretty damn good game too.
Yeah,
Atari, which did a very good job.
that's what I was going to say, and look who put it out, Atari. And I don't mean that in a bad way because, of course, way before, NES and Commodore 64 and all that stuff, you had Atari. And at the time,
600, yeah.
Well, at the time, that was, the Atari 2600, those were the games that we played. Those are the best. And then obviously, you got all these, Nintendo and everybody else coming in. So it's nice to see Atari's going back and doing something at least.
Right. See, Adventure. Adventure was the best game ever. You were a dot. You were a dot, and you liked it that way.
God.
No 3D graphics. There was no soundtrack involved. You were a dot, and you were happy. Damn it.
You were happy to be that dot.
Happy with a little arrow. God forbid you get in the way of my little arrow. But, yeah.
How that sounds so wrong.
It does. Go get yourself an Atari 2600 emulator and go back and play Adventure and tell me it's not the best game ever.
Yeah, seriously, you could own like every Atari game and the emulator, and it's probably under like 3 MB.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's a quick download. You can get every game ever made,
Yeah.
and it's probably under 3
I had
MB.
that. I had about 1,200 Atari games or some weird,
And it's like I had it on a floppy.
Yeah, exactly. And you play them, and it's like, God, these games are crap. It's like this is the worst game ever.
It's on your widescreen, like flat screen computer screen with like what are we at now? 24-bit color on our desktop. And then we pop in, I don't know, Enduro or fucking like ET. like what were we thinking?
This game is unplayable.
Really,
Oh, this is getting way off topic, but there was
yeah.
an episode of Code Monkeys where the one guy was tasked with coding ET, and he was supposed to see it, and then he didn't. And he comes back and he's like, I don't know, he's gonna eat M&Ms or something. That was a funny episode. Anyway, what it comes down to is you're a Dot. You're the happiest Dot ever. It's a damn good game.
Oh boy! Now, what is the what are the skins that are in Revenge of the Fallen?
At the moment, we have a Soundwave that, how do I describe it? It's movie Soundwave, but done in G1 Soundwave colors. Like they took the movie design, but they did it in G1 colors, but they gave it the Frank Welker Soundwave voice. So at least you have that. That's the weakest of the skins, I'll say. Then you get a Starscream that's dead on 100% G1 Starscream in and out.
Cool.
Perfect. You have an Optimus Prime, same deal. Dead G1 Optimus Prime in and out. Then you have Megatron. Now what's interesting about Megatron is that when you transform with him, one of two things happens. You either become a giant gun that's floating, a la Shockwave in the Marvel Comics, if you will, like you wanted to mention before.
Yeah.
But if you have another player playing online who is Starscream and is in your proximity, when you transform in the gun mode, you actually land in Starscream's hand if he's in robot mode.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the player that is controlling Starscream then uses him for as kind of like a sniper rifle that does big damage.
Wow.
But the risk is that you do damage each other. You can get a lot of damage if you get hit in this mode.
Oh, okay.
Now that would be the downloadable content that came out?
Yes, this is
Or
the
is
new
that
downloadable content. So far, there's only 4. It's those 4 said characters. They said that if it does well, they will do more down the line in the pipes. But of course, again, like I was saying before, they would have to then re-engineer entire new designs. Because the beautiful thing about these aren't, we could call them skins, but they're not really skins. These are brand new they're whole new models with the exception of the Soundwave. The Soundwave, we just got a repaint per se, but at least what they did is they gave him a whole new voice set. He actually sounds like G1 Soundwave this time, and in spirit it is G1 Soundwave because they play out that character as G1 Soundwave in this version. But the other 3, Megatron, Optimus, and Starscream, are brand new 100% models, where in the past everything else we got was kind of just cleverly well done redecos and repaints.
Yeah.
So they've got guys working on even more models.
Oh,
now.
well, it did very well, the download content. They even had that promotion that I'm pretty sure you guys didn't miss, where even Megan Fox, to promote the download content, she was going to play Xbox Live online against fans, which a lot of people didn't believe that she was actually going to be playing it. She'd probably get some guy to play for her. And she'll
Megan
be
Fox
talking
is
on the
going to
mic.
play video games.
You know what? But promote it like they even did. Like the day it came out, she had her own server and stuff with the microphone, and she was playing against other people. So there was a pretty big push for this. So they probably were expecting to do more. Which would be great. That would be awesome. A lot of people were already speculating. Well, I guess who knows? We're just based on pre-existing characters already. Maybe we'll get a G1 Sideswipe, maybe a G1 Jazz. Who knows? Who knows?
A G1 Jazz that gets ripped in half.
It is a possibility. The only thing that we could kind of base it on is that every single character so far that's gotten these new designs, if you will, their move set and their way they handle is based on obviously pre-existing characters.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people speculate possibly like a G1 Sideswipe per se or a G1 Ratchet because they already exist in the game.
Right.
So don't expect oh, we're gonna get G1 Rodimus or we're gonna get Blur or something. That's probably not gonna happen at all. Although if it does, that'd be great, but that would involve a lot more time for them because all they do is they do the new model. And then they throw on the moveset and programming from a pre-existing character already.
Right,
so,
right. Do you guys? Yeah. Speaking of the Transformers movies, apparently we're getting it July 1st, 2011 for the 3rd film. Yeah.
I wanted to actually talk about that. I mentioned it on my Twitter also. Who they said is 100% confirmed to be the writer for the next movie.
Michael Bay?
No.
He writes entirely in sound effects. It wouldn't work.
No, well, Michael Bay actually does have a hand somewhat in the writing of the movie. It's more just small scenes. Like it's not confirmed, but I just know it deep down that the two dog humping scenes were probably all Michael Bay. I can just picture him while they were filming the movie. He was probably like, you know what? I think right now, at this moment, when Sam's talking to his dad, I think we need a scene where two dogs are humping, just to break the silence. And then I imagine him like 5 minutes after going, you know what? I think we need two scenes of dogs humping, you know? Like this seems like a
Yeah,
Michael
they go
Bay.
back to verify the dog humping.
You know, like I want the editors on top of this dog humping scene. This will be my baby of the movie, you know?
He's back there saying, this sound effect needs to be included in the dog humping scene. Yeah, stop it, Michael Bay.
God.
But as I was going to say, they confirmed 100% that Ortsy and Kurtzman, who wrote the scripts for the first two movies, are not going to be returning. Because they've openly admitted it. As much as they're Transformer fans, and I say this in quotes,
Yes.
they're bigger Star Trek fans, and they're more enticed by those kind of projects to come. So they pretty much said, you know what, we don't care, you know, unofficially. And they left.
Hate Michael Bay.
Yeah, that too. So what ended up happening was because they pretty much were locked in a hotel room and forced to write the movie after the script.
You put this much effort into a movie, and it's a fantastic movie, and Michael Bay comes along and says, "I need dogs humping." I'm not going to write in dogs humping into my script.
I want giant robot testicles clanging against each other. I want.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you go through that a couple of times, and it's like, JJ.
You know what's sad?
I'm gonna go work with JJ.
You look at like the top selling movies of all time, and like Revenge of the Fallen is on there, and then you see, you know, Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz, and there's, you know, two metal testicles, robot balls clanging, you know, like it's just wow, Michael. Yeah. Wow, you will go down in history, you know.
That's right.
But anyways,
the biggest explosion ever filmed, and the largest robotic testicles ever filmed. Yeah. As God is my witness, I will never stand below the giant robotic testicles ever again.
Yeah.
But pretty much, what the latest news that I read was Kurtzman and Orsi are out, and in his place was one of the like he was one of the co-writers for the movie. He only wrote a few scenes here and there.
Right.
Which is
Aaron. The guy who was hired to write in the dog humping scene when Orsi and Kurtzman wouldn't do it.
This guy actually, he did write some of the other stuff that people were like, his name's Aaron Kruger, and he was the guy who, to my knowledge, like he was the one who wrote in other stupid, like he was responsible for the twins existing in the movie at all. And I believe he was responsible for a few other just stupid sight gag scenes, like maybe I think when the mom ate the brownie or something.
10 minutes it could have been avoided.
Oh yes. Yeah, pretty much. So this guy is now he has full reign, and so I was curious. I'm like, okay, sure, okay, he wrote those two scenes, but maybe he got a bum rap, and he, again, I'm not going to base his whole career on the 10 minutes or so that he was given of this 3-hour movie.
What else has he done?
So I did research on him, and then I found out all he does, and he has a pretty thick resume, but all he does is horror and suspense. And I was like, great, that's all we need. More people running away from stuff,
Yeah.
We didn't get enough of that in the first two movies. Shia running with the Allspark, now he's running with the sock with dust in it,
The sock.
So now we're going to get a third movie, now written by a guy who does movies that are all about running away from shit, running away and screaming. So now we're going to get a whole movie. So honestly, Transformers is a story about civil war, about two factions, two races fighting against each other. I really want that story. I mean, okay, I'm not expecting G1, and at the same time I'm not expecting the writing of Beast Wars, but at least I want somehow that story told. And I remember I had this argument with a guy who absolutely loved the movie, and the argument ended with the most simplest thing, and I said, you like the original 86 movie, right? And he said, oh, I love it, it was the best thing ever. I'm like, okay, answer me this question. Who is the main character in the 1986 movie? And of course, there was some hesitation. He said, "Oh, maybe Hot Rod or Optimus Prime," and he's right on most ends. It's Hot Rod or Optimus Prime, if you will. maybe Grimlock, maybe not. But the point is, it was a Transformer. When you look at these two movies and you say, who is the main character, it's not a Transformer. And that's the flaw in the new movies.
Yeah.
Is that you don't look at the 86 movie, or you don't look at the original Transformer series and go, who's the main character, and say Daniel or Spike. That's not the case. With this, it is the human, and that's the mistake. That's something that we have to avoid and have more hammered into in the third movie. Granted, yes, Shia does have to be there. He's contractually supposed to be there, and in all honesty, I think it would be a shame if he was dropped. But at the same time, I think that it's now time at this point, considering, when this movie comes out, they're not releasing Shia figures by the thousands. They're releasing Transformer toys by the thousands. That's where the money-making is the characters. So I would really like to see, a lot, not to say that I want only robots or anything, but it's just I want to see a more focus on the characters. We got a lot more of what we wanted in the second movie of, we got more robot footage, but it wasn't character development. We got plenty of Sideswipe, but it wasn't really him doing anything that really told us who Sideswipe was. Damn, I'm good, and then, oh no, Sam, like his two lines that he had, it didn't help us define who was Sideswipe. There wasn't much character-to-character development with the exception of the twins. There was no other Transformers really talking to other Transformers unless they were like, the classic Starscream Megatron scenes. Yeah, we got that, And then we had like the vague, not even looking at each other, fall into Megatron scenes. But there wasn't much of it. So again, character development was something that was lacking. And this guy who's coming into it now, who's going to be writing a majority of the dialogue in the script, we were told that he was, again, a fan of Transformers. But you know what? At this point, everyone's a fucking fan of Transformers, Even my, dad, who's, frickin' 52 and listens to Beatles records, you could say he's a fan of Transformers, Anyone who has a mild interest because of this now multi-million-dollar blockbuster movie could say they're a fan. And especially if you're a writer about the right for this multi-million-dollar movie. You're damn right you better say you're a fan, even if you're not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who I'd like to see in the writing chair? I have a few choices, but just two popped into my head only because I've friended them on Facebook. Either Flint Dille or Marv Wolfman.
See, the problem with getting some of the older guys, Flint Dille did a really good job with the original '86 movie. But the thing is that a lot of people don't notice the original '86 movie went through 4 rewrites before it got to what it was now. The first script of the original '86 movie had Optimus Prime fusing with Cybertron and then becoming a Cybertron that transforms. And that's how he fought Unicron at the end of the movie.
Wow.
I shit you not. That was the first draft of the script.
Wow.
Enough for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there. I'm pretty the TF Wiki has some stuff on that, but it doesn't have the complete script. But it's out there, so go dig for it. But so even that movie went through a whole bunch of script rewrites, and at that point, Flint really didn't have much pull anymore afterwards. And same thing, Nelson Shin, who was the director for the movie, there was a lot of language barrier problems because Nelson speaks the worst English ever.
Yes, he does.
So for anyone that watched the commentary of the original '86 movie,
Yeah.
oh man, they needed subtitles for him, But no offense to the guy. Sure, yeah, you don't speak English, but at the same time, when he was doing the movie back then, there was no communication really.
Yeah.
So it didn't work out very well. Now, granted, the movie turned out fine. That goes without saying in the end. But it involved a lot of effort, so it's really hard to tell what Flint is capable of on a 2-hour big screen situation. Who would I like to see, though? A lot of times people ask, I'm curious, even though it might not turn out well, but I'd like to see, almost like a what if. What if James Cameron did it? Just curious, No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean wrote it or directed it?
I would say because directed it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, even it might not be good, but at the same time, I'm almost curious, what would he have done differently than say Michael Bay? Say he did it from the get-go. Since the 2007 movie, what would he have done differently? Because because with him, I find that he kind of has a greater emphasis on the robot, you know,
Yeah.
as especially with Terminator 2, he really showed how you could humanize that robot and make it something that you feel apathetic for, even in the case of say the T-1000 in Terminator 2. So it's just I'm really curious of how he would handle that.
Yeah.
Like maybe it would be horrible. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just really curious how because Bay, his biggest flaw, and as much as I don't want to sound like a Bay hater, but it's just he loves his American military too much. He's very red, white, and blue. I love the Army, and he'll do anything he can to cut away from an important Transformer scene to show 15 minutes of planes leaving hangars. You know?
Yeah.
Like it'll be like,
Yeah.
all right, here's this amazing battle between Optimus and the Fallen, but wait, now we're going to go to this abandoned airfield in like Indiana where they're going T-146, launch, dun, 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 dun. You know, like, do we really need that? But him, he gets a hard-on for that. He loves his American military stuff, so he'll never let that slide. That's his thing. I think that losing Orci and Kurtzman, as much as their writing has been on and off, I think losing Bay would have been a little better. And again, not that I hate him. I mean, he did bring some interesting things to the franchise. But at the same time, I'm really curious to see how someone else would handle it. Because with Bay being in the seat again for the third movie, I already kind of know what I'm going to get now. I'm not going to be shocked.
I think Bay has gotten his trilogy down. You know, in 2011 he'll have completed this trilogy. You know, Jackson had his trilogy, Lucas had his trilogy, Raimi had his Spider-Man trilogy, and now Bay's going to have his trilogy, and we can open it up for a new director. I'm hoping for Uwe Ball to come in and do it. He's really good with these video game and franchises.
What's he done, Mike?
Yeah, Uwe Ball?
Yeah, help me out. Maybe I'm
Uwe Ball did House of the Dead. He did Blood Rain. He did. If you don't know who Uwe Ball is, you don't sense the sarcasm because all
okay,
of his movies are
that's
utter crap.
I was just about to say. So he did nothing but horrible movies then.
Yeah, all of his movies are horrible. You know, it's fun to watch them, but at the same time, it's like, oh my god, is this bad? You know. And Uwe Ball is the first one to jump up and defend himself. It's like, my movies are fine. You know, it's like, no man, your movies are horrible.
You know what? See, but that's where it goes to say, even if he did it, this guy, I think that's in the case where I really say, how good really is Michael Bay? I mean, when he did Revenge of the Fallen, they gave him a blank check, pretty much. They told him, here's all this money, go make your magic. And look what he made. He made something that, in all honesty, didn't really need Michael Bay to be there. You know, it was just long. It was just a lot of explosions, a lot of CG. If anything, the people who directed this movie were the pyromaniacs who worked on the set, and GM who destroyed all the cars for them. You know,
Yeah.
I think that they deserve more credit than Michael Bay does. Because, again, this Uwe Ball that you mentioned, I think that if he was in his seat when Revenge of the Fallen was being done, I think his flavor would be in the movie, but it would have been more or less just as grand, you know, maybe even better. Again, it's hard to say. Because all I know is, in Michael Bay's case, I can't guarantee quality, but I can guarantee consistency with him. That's the only thing that we can get from him.
Yeah, when you go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, the major problem with having Bay on is that Bay wants to have hands-on in the writing chores.
Yeah.
Again, you know, Orci and Kurtzman don't like Bay because they wrote this beautiful script, and then Bay wants to come in and mangle it and include asinine characters who jive talk.
And it's funny, if you ever read the first draft of the original Revenge of the Fallen draft, the very first one that leaked, there's a lot of surprising similarities from the final release. Instead of fighting at a pyramid in Egypt, they fought at a pyramid in the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas. They still fought Devastator. No, I'm serious. They still fought Devastator. You know, there was still the whole thing with
See, Devastator on the Las Vegas Strip, that would have been awesome.
Well, see, a
Even
lot
the
of people,
crappy ass Devastator that they
a
brought
lot
out.
of people were actually pretty behind that because it's a very colorful an environment, and it would have worked very well with all those colorful characters. But I guess again, he likes the army, so he likes his big, wide open deserts that he could explode stuff,
Yeah.
without worrying about damaging things. So he's more towards that. That's why, he loves his Scorponok scene. He loves his, any desert scene because he could bring F-14 planes and F-22s out there and just start shooting shit because the army will let him and he has the space to do it, at least in the desert. Which, again, worries me about TF3. Where do you go from there, and what is he going to do? And my favorite character is Hot Rod Rodimus Prime. I actually don't want him to be in the movies.
I don't either.
Even if that sacrifices the fact, that I won't get a Hot Rod Rodimus movie toy or I won't get him in the games, I could live with that. At least knowing that he won't be misused. Because I remember prior to Revenge of the Fallen come out, there was tons of media and press and images and posters and this of Sideswipe. And it's like, holy crap, Sideswipe. And he was, and look how little he was used.
30 seconds of the movie.
So I can imagine coming up to the movie, Hot Rod, oh, Hot Rod, this posters and action figures and everything. And then he's probably going to get 7 lines. Oh God, 7 lines would be generous at this point. I remember I was in Zellers, which is a Canadian, I would say it's like Target, and I saw Ravage. Movie Ravage got his own poster, just his own poster, and I'm like, wow, they made a poster for a character that appeared, did some stuff, and then got boned like a fish.
Yeah.
I'm like, who watched Revenge of the Fallen and then left the theater and said, man, I want a poster of that cat thing that got killed by Bumblebee. And again, and if you say, oh, then the kids want it. No kid wants that character that just got killed. So it's just the marketing is so perverse that if Rodimus was used in this or Hot Rod, it would be so misused that, I imagine all the Bumblebee fans must be banging their heads on tables now because just what the hell is going on? If you were someone who was really purist and loved the way Bumblebee was, they must have hated this movie, Maybe they liked the first one, but the second one, it was just Bumblebee's now he's a stalker. He's absolutely insane,
Well, I do have to point something out here. The one scene that I absolutely love with Bumblebee is, and the way I, phrased it in our Revenge of the Fallen review when we did that way back when in the beginning of ToyCast was the pyramid scene where where the twins are arguing. He takes them and knocks their heads together. He's basically Mo, and the twins are Larry and Curly. You can make either one Larry or Curly, but Bumblebee is Mo. And I like that. That was a comical part, but yeah, the movie Bumblebee is nothing what the G1 Bumblebee was.
That's something that I find is a little lacking. Granted, yes, it's the movie continuity and it's its own thing, and it doesn't have to be 100% loyal to the source material. But you know what? It doesn't hurt if you're gonna name the character Bumblebee. Give it some spin on it. Look, we can look at it like how the X-Men movies were done. Sure, they didn't use the original costumes. Yes, Wolverine. If you wanted to be an X-Men purist, let's say, then that first X-Men movie was all wrong. It should have been like the original 1963 X-Men with Cyclops, Beast, Iceman, Jean Grey, and Archangel. It should have been just those 5 and Professor X fighting Magneto. That would have been the purist answer. But no, they did a different approach, and they started with the later X-Men cast from the giant size X-Men days, and they threw in Wolverine, and it didn't have the original outfits. Everyone was in black leather. But at least the characters were still the characters.
Oh,
Wolverine
yeah.
was still the Wolverine that we knew. Cyclops was still the guy. It was still the Boy Scout character. It was all at least maintained. Even when they brought in other characters like, say, Nightcrawler and changed their designs. Oh, now Kurt Wagner, a.k.a. Nightcrawler, has all these scars and religious signs on his face. That's fine, but the character was still religious. It was still Nightcrawler. He still had his accent,
Yeah.
They stayed true to that, where it's a shame when and Ironhide comes in, and while Ironhide is fun and all in the movie, it's not the original rednecky, Peter Cullen Ironhide, or, the Ratchet. Ratchet really didn't have much, characterization in the cartoon to reflect with. It was more the comics that used him. But, in the case of Bumblebee, that's such a big player. It's kind of interesting that the direction they took, and then how the character changed when it went into Revenge of the Fallen. In Revenge of the Fallen, he was all about just following Sam, and murdering, and literally I use the word murdering with a big underline, murdering anything in his way. I mean, I hope that he knew that Alicia was a Decepticon, because if she wasn't, then he could have poisoned her with the coolant he was spraying all over her in the car. She could have gotten second-degree vapor burns.
Bumblebee is the new B.A. Baracus.
No, but that's what I mean. It's just throughout the whole movie, he was just like this stalker character. Even Optimus Prime in the second movie, if you were a Decepticon fanaticism, if you just loved Decepticons and you go into Revenge of the Fallen, you almost feel like Optimus Prime is a serial killer. Because if you look at their scenes where it's okay, the Decepticons are just sitting around doing nothing, minding their own business in vehicle mode, and then the Autobots come in and murder all of them.
Yeah, that's true.
They're hunting Decepticons, which is wow, that's not what Autobots are about. They never hunted. Maybe the Dinobots did at one point. So, it was a really big twist. When would Optimus Prime ever shoot a guy when he's down? He would never, but he did that to Demolition.
Yell at him and then shoot him in the face.
He did it. Look, he when Demolition was all busted up, he cocked his gun and put a hole in his head. Where it's wow, Optimus hesitated to shoot Megatron when he was down in the '86 movie. It was a big departure of character development. It was a big departure of a lot of things. It was still fun, but it kind of leaves that bad taste in your mouth, and that's why a lot of people who left Revenge of the Fallen had such mixed feelings, because it was kind of I want to like it, but there's a side of me that says no.
Yeah.
And that existed with everyone.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the critics who didn't know what Transformers were hated it right off the bat, and the ones who did like Transformers and knew what Transformers were liked it, but the fact that they knew what Transformers were kind of made them not go, oh my god, it was awesome, amazing. I remember the first time seeing it, I actually looked at my watch during that desert scene, because I was like, wow, how long is this movie? And if I was having a good time, I wouldn't have done that. I don't remember doing that in the first movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The second movie, on the first run of watching it, I was actually like, wow, how long is this thing?
You probably saw the first movie in Rhode Island, though.
Oh, no, I didn't, actually. I saw the first movie just in my normal theater back home here on its opening day.
Oh, okay.
And I enjoyed it. I was with a perfect crowd of people who were all big Transformer fans, all cheering and loving it, and it was an enjoyable movie. And to this day, I still feel that the first movie was a better package. It had a lot less robots, a lot more humans, a lot less robot dialogue, a lot of that. But as a movie as a whole, I'm not saying as a Transformer movie, it was a better movie. It had a better pace. It had a good beginning, middle, and end. It worked well. There was little things here and there I would have changed, but it was more or less, it was better. Where Revenge of the Fallen really needs, there's, when they say, oh, here's the new DVD version, director's cut with, 1 hour of extra footage.
Right.
This movie, it's the other way around. It has to be like the director's cut that has an hour less of footage.
Yeah. At least 30 minutes of just extraneous crap could have been removed. I had a blog post where I just went into detail.
Oh,
These are all the scenes that could have been cut, and it would have been a better movie.
Did we really need, the midget Arabic guy at the crossing post, I mean, did we really? That was a good 7 minutes that didn't but again, this is Michael Bay. Michael Bay, he'll just be sitting there going, you know what? We need a midget. We need a midget right now. I want you to get on the phone. I need a midget, okay? And I want to do a scene where, a midget is yelling at, fucking, at Sam, I just need a midget,
That's important to have. Yeah.
It's just like I feel like every scene kind of like all those crazy scenes kind of happen that way.
Yeah.
They're just, it's the same thing with the Devastator balls. It was just like, yeah, hey, you're under Devastator. You know what? He's gonna have testicles. What the hey? Like they're just gonna be hanging there, and there's gonna be like clanging like two like medicine balls. Yeah, like it's gonna be great. Everyone's gonna love it. And it's just like I remember seeing that, and I turned to my friend, who's a humongous Transformer fan. He's a buddy of mine who helps run TFCon, and I was like, "You got to be serious. We're not going to hear the end of this when we get out of this theater." Like I was sitting there watching the movie for the first time and going, "The fandom is not going to shut up about this for the end of time." Like it's going to be one of those things that are just going to stay within the fandom forever. Like just how we'll say like, oh, Braun's not dead. He got shot in the shoulder. Any of those little things like that clanging Devastator testicles will be in the fandom forever. It'll just be one of those things. Same thing, the dual dog humping, like we'll never forget that. We'll never let May live that down.
When you said James Cameron for the third one, the only thing I can think of is, holy crap, they're going to put broadside in and they're going to sink it like he did the Titanic.
He's going to sink it. Yeah.
But see, I don't know. I'm kind of in my mind. I'm trying to picture how he would do it.
Yeah.
Because just based on the few stuff that he's done that's robot based, and granted it's not a lot, but James Cameron when he did T2, it was kind of a similar situation. They gave him a blank check. They said here, and at the time, you have to realize when Terminator 2 came out, it was the most expensive movie ever made at the time.
Yeah.
So he was in a very Michael Bay situation at the time. And he didn't let the money get to him. He told a story,
Right.
And then he used the money to just improve the storytelling using, at the time, what was the best CG and explosions he could. Again, that tanker scene was the equivalency of what Michael Bay does today. It was, I need a big, humongous explosion, and that tanker scene where the explosion happens that then reveals T-1000 walking out of it was that big, and so I'm really curious how he would have handled it. Considering that he has a lot more self-control when it comes to this kind of writing.
Right.
So, I don't know. Same thing like when I saw Terminator Salvation, which was just pretty much another, let's hop on the Transformer bandwagon,
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that, Terminator, can't stand on its own, but it's just this movie was really taking advantage of the giant robots kicking butt, kind of scenario. It just, that movie didn't work. But that was also not written by him.
Yeah.
So it really shows how the same franchise used in different hands could tell a different story.
Right.
So,
did you guys see the news? I saw it on Facebook from T-Formers about the Shattered Glass trailer. The Shattered Glass Optimus Prime trailer.
Was this on the fan club website?
No, this was. I didn't see it on. I opened the link from Facebook. It was from T-Formers. Somebody is making a Shattered Glass Optimus Prime, and it's not Fans Project. They're making a trailer that is. I don't know if it's actually for SG Prime, but they are making one in the colors of SG Prime, like purple.
Oh, okay. So it's just a repaint or something, if you will.
I guess. I'm not sure. I'm going to see if I can find the news item really quick.
Did you predict that a while back?
Yeah, but I was hoping Fans Project would do it because they're better than other...
you know what? Sooner or later, the evil Optimus Prime trailer is going to come from everyone anyhow.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, even the bootlegs of the world's smallest stuff had, like, all the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've seen any of those, like, there's everything. Clear blue, clear yellow, clear this, so they did every color. But going back to that with FunPub, actually, they recently announced, this hasn't been on the net yet, it was in their newsletter that they were sending out to all the people who are part of the club, that next year they're going to be going in a whole new direction with their story. So the whole Shattered Glass story that's been ongoing is going to be ending as of this December. It's going to be the last story. Shattered Glass story of everything. So it's gonna all come to a big boiling point or something. So it's gonna be some big thing, And then they said the next 3 years in the club is going to be some brand new arc that they're going to focus on. Because Lord knows we got screwed pretty bad in the club when we got our first combiner piece, which was Skyfall, and we saw that translucent pink and blue.
Right.
We know how most combiners kind of color coordinate usually.
Yeah.
We knew what we were going to get for the next 5 years. You know.
Right. Right.
That really didn't help.
Um.
I'm really curious where they're going to go with this toy-wise, especially in terms of exclusives. We know that we're going to be getting a Classics Punch and Counter Punch,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. But that's going to be a club exclusive, not rather than a free toy.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious what they're going to do because, you know, so far they've impressed me enough for me to give them a pass. Fun
Right.
Club. I'm not too crazy about how they handle BotCon, but that's more Brian Savage's fault, and I could go into a long rant about that.
Yeah, we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the link to the article I'm talking about in the chat window here. I don't know. It shows a purple roller, which I think is cool, but the trailer itself, it's not the way that I had pictured it to be. Now, of course, as we all know, Fans Project will jump on this bandwagon eventually.
Oh, yeah. Well, the good thing with Fan Project is that if there's one thing that they do, they put a lot of mileage in their molds.
Yeah.
Like, I think, what are we on? Repaint number 5 of City Commander, and we're on, like, repaint number 2 of their Classics trailer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then also they're doing another release of their Superion Apex set, and so they do a lot of rehashes and repaints of their stuff. So we'll definitely see something down the line.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to bring up before we close this extremely long episode was I recently, so actually I will have toys to actually talk about on the show. I bought the Wave 1 set off of eBay of the Mighty Mugs Transformers, and I looked somewhere, I don't know where it was, it might have been on TF Wiki, and I saw a Shockwave Mighty Mug. And, of course, it hasn't been released yet. And then I saw something that said it was canceled because apparently Wave 3 was supposed to be Shockwave and Jazz. This needs to come out.
I'll let you know. At San Diego Comic-Con, Hasbro confirmed that they will come out. They're just trying to find the right time to do it now.
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about is, okay, I went to I went to Target the other day. My Targets, either they need to restock or they're selling like hotcakes. The Transformers aisle was practically almost empty. I mean, there was like maybe six deluxe figures on about 4 different pegs each.
I could tell you exactly why this is happening right now.
Well, they're selling out.
No, well, it's more they're actually moving out old stock because of a certain little holiday that's coming up. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah,
So
Christmas.
you see that a lot. If you look at any threads on TFW and Cybertron.ca, November last year, everyone was complaining about how there was nothing.
Yeah.
It's because always before Christmas they try to clear old stock, just so they could put it in that month of December with all kinds of new toys for kids to be screaming and wanting.
Right. Well, like like everybody knows who listens to the show, I don't like the movie line anyways. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is, I know the movie line's probably going to continue until probably next April. Hopefully it doesn't.
Easily.
Hopefully it doesn't. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm wondering what the next line would be. And I know we're probably not going to see that until we see the new cartoon, which apparently is going to be the movie aesthetic, which I probably won't even watch it.
Well, what we do have a confirmation is Universe is going to continue just very mildly.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to stop at all. It's going to stay alive through store exclusive stuff and everything. Like it started now, like the repaint of Onslaught from Universe, the Hardhead one.
Right.
Like that's starting to show up. Yeah, that's starting to show up now, and and the Skyjack G2 repaint of Silverbolt, Universe Silverbolt. So those are starting to show up, and they're going to continue releasing those because we still have a lot of stuff left that's for Universe that's to come out down the pipes. Movie line, oh man, that's going to run for quite a bit. I guarantee that. Like I always say, Movie 1's toy line lasted that long based on the sales of how well the movie did. So imagine how this one's going to do, considering how, it beat the first movie's movie sales and tickets.
Yeah,
so
the recent issue of the Transformers Collectors Club magazine had pictures of stuff that won't even be out for months.
Oh yeah, like Dirge and the Lockdown and the
Dirge
Bludgeon.
yeah.
Like that
Those
yeah.
probably be out. I thought they'd be out by Christmas, but
Oh no, see that's just it. They got plans for a while. They're going to be busy for a while. So if you're someone who doesn't like Movie Line, you're in trouble because you're not going to have anything new from that for a while. Although the flip side of that is if you save your money, Japan is putting out a lot of little interesting things too. So I mean, if you like Alternity, that stuff is pretty cool and it's not that expensive if you find the right sources for it.
Mhm.
Kabaya, which is a Japanese
the
candy toy. Yeah, the candy toy company. They're putting out some G1 stuff. Supposedly, according to a Japanese website that Hydra found yesterday, the first 3 figures is actually going to be the beginning of more that's going to be coming down the pipes. This is Volume 1, which is called the Leaders set, which is Convoy, Henkei Convoy, and Starsaber. And then the second set's probably going to be like Destron Leaders. I don't know, but supposedly it's going to be more. It's just that this is the first wave of this that's coming. It's going to be a lot more of that. So there's something for everyone. I mean, hey, we have the device label stuff coming down the line. So if you want your USB Tigatron and Ravage, or the blaster looks pretty slick though. I don't know. I like that one, but that's just me.
I don't think that's USB 2.0 compatible.
Is
That's
it?
kind of, I'm not sure if it is. If it isn't, it's just a big piece of crap.
Well, to be in all honesty, I don't see myself using it for that anyways. I think it's just more a novelty, but...
Oh, no, I would.
Either way... Either way, it's just so there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe, so, I mean... But I always tell people as well, if you're saving money not going to Walmart and buying, like, 5 or 6 deluxes, that adds up to some really slick stuff you could get off of Big Bad Toy Store from the Japanese, The Japanese are always going to be putting out alternative stuff because the beauty with Japan is that they got insane ADD, Like, they only like the movie line as it's in the theaters, and when that's out of theaters, they're not going to care anymore, and they're going to want the next thing,
Right.
So that's why, like, you have to realize all those toys that we got for movie line, Japan got like 20% of that. Well, I would say like 25% of that. And what they actually did was, for like a good 10% of those toys, which were like fast action battlers that they brought over, they actually wrote a separate fiction explaining why those toys look the way they do. And they said it was a crossover with Beast Wars. And that's, I don't want to get into it, but it's a whole big thing. So,
wow.
So for the next couple of, I would say 6 months, definitely look forward to plenty more movie line. But also in 6 months, hey, we'll have a BotCon and a TFCon by then, so Hasbro will definitely show us what's down the pipes by then. And also, I remember around BotCon and TFCon, which is always April, May, June, we had our new series. So we'll know by then. I mean,
yes.
all we know 100% is the new series is going to be written here, and that's the most important thing. Okay?
Yeah, that's
as long as it's not in the Japanese hands, although they can write some good stuff once in a while, as long as it's not in their hands right now, I can guarantee at least we'll enjoy it somewhat. For people who didn't like animated, they probably didn't like Beast Wars either. So,
morons. But what the hell was I was going to say something. I don't know. Oh yeah, you're saying, but by the time TFCon and BotCon roll around, we'll know what the new line is. Well, I don't see why that they wouldn't release, our favorite yet to be released toys for Christmas. Because
are you kidding? Again, I would love for animated Rodimus to come out.
It needs to.
Let me tell you something. like, I don't know, you might even have to cut this out of the podcast, but you probably won't. I'm talking to the Chinese bootlegger guys who steal stuff from the factories, okay? And right now, there's no sign of those guys.
Are you serious?
There's nothing yet. Like, I'm not going to name him.
No, don't. No,
I'm
don't.
not going to name him, but he's quite the toy source for me and a few other big wigs in the fandom who buy our stolen Chinese toys. But so far, there's been no sign of any of that animated stuff except for the Freeway Jazz and the Goldfire Grimlock.
And I don't care about either one of those, so...
Well, yeah, of course, no one does, but it's just those are the only two have been showing up in factories early. And again, Freeway Jazz, even though he's been showing up in the factories, there's been no word of when he's going to show up officially. So that just gives you an idea of the proximity of how long it will take for this Rodimus to come out. I want it to come out badly. It's a gorgeous figure.
I know.
I'm going to buy like 5 of them.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
At the same time, I'm not getting my hopes up yet. We will get him, but I don't think it's going to be in the next 6 months. I think, I really see it coming much. I almost see it as like a club exclusive or something, or
that
some
would suck.
insane. Yeah, it would suck. It would make it a lot more difficult, and expensive. But at the same time, I almost see it being more like that.
Yeah, that would really suck.
Man, would it be expensive?
Yes, it would be.
Air Razor was a deluxe, and I think she was $35.99.
Wow.
So just imagine.
That's
okay?
insane for a deluxe.
Yeah, and well, you can imagine also how well it sold. It sold horribly, and now it's on clearance. But anyways.
Yes.
Oh, don't even get me. Yeah. You know what? I bought the Astro Train. That was what, like $120?
Bro, we're in the same same boat, man. We both
$65 for the Parasite. You buy yourself an Air Razor and you get a free Astro Train with it. How does that work?
Exactly. So and Air Razor's already like on a clearance price. It's like, yeah, buy Air Razor for $24, get Astro Train free. What? Oh my God! I spent like $80 on these two bastards. You know, like.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point? You know, like.
Dude, please.
You know, so I really hope that doesn't happen again. Although it probably will. They already sent out emails. They're clearancing everything too on the club store. So. Well,
that was the whole reason that I waited on the Seacons. The Seacon.
And then y'all know how that worked out for everyone.
Well, no, I don't, because they sold out.
Well, that's just it. It sold out, and then everyone's like, "Damn it," you know.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten that. Well, yeah, I don't think Nightbeat sold out. I'm waiting for
Nightbeat's still lingering around,
waiting for that to go on sale for $20.
And select pieces of the combiner pieces are also, they like Topspin, they like millions of them. You know, like if you look at it this way, Breakaway, who came out in the 2007 year, which was during the movie, he sold out. Why? Because the movie came out, all these fans came out of nowhere, registered for the club, it sold out. But anyways, you know, yeah.
Boring Mike, he's typing.
No, I'm working on the poll for this episode. No, I'm listening.
Oh no, I think we should wrap it up anyways. We've droned on long enough.
I know. It's like, where did this conversation go?
I don't know. Well, you know what it is? It's a lot of material for people who are going to be listening to this later.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, at least we didn't break the 4-hour mark like I've done on some of my other podcast episodes.
Yeah.
I
usually just delete those.
Shut the hell up. Well, you can stream them live online now. You don't have to download them anymore. Just download the GeekCastRadio.com toolbar. Alright, so we're going to bring this one to a close. Thank you for joining us here on Transformers ToyCast. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. First, you can visit www.geekcastradio.com and find all the other GCRN podcasts there. Second is you can stop by www.ProtoconEmpire.com/CafeSpark. Those are our forums. In the TF ToyCast area, you will find the episode 20 post with the poll, which new theme should we use for the final theme for the show, for the intro outro. The choices are either the TV version or the radio version. In between each cartoon theme, I've put either a radio dial or TV static. The third is you can leave the show feedback on iTunes. Please do this. I think when I checked it yesterday, I think we had nothing but 5-star feedback, so that's good. Keep leaving us 5-star feedback. Thanks a lot. The fourth is you can visit the www.earth-2.net forums and find our threads for the shows under the self-promotion section. And the fifth is the email address, which is tftoycast@gmail.com. We now have a voicemail line. Call us and leave us your thoughts on each episode. Be sure to say which show you're leaving the message for, and leave us your name. The number is 502-526-5821. You can follow us on Twitter. The show name there is TFToycast. Mine is TFG1Mike. And Protoman, what is your Twitter?
Protoman X.
Yes, the bastard that stole Protoman. You're still trying to hunt him down, right?
Yeah.
And Michael, what's yours?
Pecan Court Michael, PECANCTMICHAEL.
MOUSE. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Transformers Toycast, and wish that you'll join us next time. For now, I am TFG and Mike with Pecan Court Michael and the goddamn Proto Man, saying the more words of Optimus Prime, transform and roll out, and thank you for listening. Until next time.
Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. I see a new episode of ToonCast coming this week.
Well, you have just heard the 20th episode of Transformers Toycast. I am TFG and Mike. And I also have two different outros, a radio-style outro and a TV-style outro, TV-static style of outro. I would like to thank Malunas for the TV-static sound effect. So yeah, here is the radio-style, and then you will hear the TV-style. Don't forget to go over to PredaconEmpire.com/CafeSpark and look under the Transformers Toycast banner for the episode 20 poll, where you can decide which theme that Transformers Toycast will have. Either the radio style intro-outro or the TV static style intro-outro. Thank you for listening to Transformers Toycast.
Transformers.